Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi, my name's Earl. I'm an alcoholic. I was just sitting there enjoying myself waiting for the first speaker. Shows when I know what's going on. So, when do we... 5 up. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Nasser, for asking me to come share here. It's always an honor and a privilege. Congratulations to chip takers. Congratulations on your 1 year. That's terrific. I rarely know what's going on. I didn't start drinking until I was 12. I waited as long as I possibly could. I had been restless, irritable, and discontented for quite some time. My family had decided it was time for me to become a man, and at 12 years of age, 5 feet tall, 104 pounds, I could understand their thinking. Manhood was right around the corner for me. And I got shipped off to boarding school. And turns out I was the smallest and the youngest boy in a boarding school of 250 boys. They'd scoured the earth to find 250 of the brightest, most disturbed young men they could find. It's like Lord of the Flies in this joint. And I had no tools for living. I had no idea what to do. I'd lived in a household where, you know, the door swung open in the morning. They said, get up, get dressed, eat your breakfast, go to school. When you were at school, they told you what to do. When you got home, they told you what to do. And when to go to bed, you got up and did it again. So, you know, there was really no activities according to Earl's plan going on. You know, so here I am on this campus, and I'm walking around. I got no tools for living. I don't get it. I'm afraid of my own shadow. I meet Tiny. Every high school's got a guy named Tiny. He's, you know, 6'4", 240, right? He found me and he said, "How you doing, punk?" And he slapped me in the back of the head and sent me and my books flying. And I had this kind of an out-of-body experience where you're watching yourself do something while the inside of your head is screaming no. And I hit Tiny as hard as I could, which had no effect on Tiny whatsoever. And he looked at me and said, "You got a lot of guts, kid." And then he beat the crap out of me on the spot. And as I'm taking the beating, I'm thinking, this is going pretty good. Because the fact was, I was absolutely terrified of Tiny. And he had said, "You got a lot of guts." My violence had masked my fear. So my first tool for living was, when frightened, attack. I'm not a tough guy or a bad guy. I mean, I know everybody is, right? But I mean, I'm not. I've just been extremely violent in my life as a direct result of self-centered fear. So, I mean, you know, I go back to my room, wait for the bleeding to stop. I'm sitting there with knots on my head. You know, I'm 12 years old. My life sucks, right? And word spreads around this campus like wildfire. Watch out for this little Hightower kid. He's a maniac. He attacked Tiny, right? So now I got this reputation that has absolutely nothing to do with who I am. I'm a frightened child. But according to the community, I am a maniac. A 104-pound maniac. And the cool guys came around, and this guy, Matt, swung around. He came up to my room, and he said, "Hey, you want to smoke a joint?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I didn't even know what he was talking about. All I heard was, "Do you want to hook up with us?" And the answer was, yeah. I mean, it didn't make any difference where they were going or what they were doing. I felt like I was alone in the universe. These guys want to go smoke a joint, whatever that means, I'm in. So we pick up Steve, Go around behind the dorm, 2 13-year-olds and a 12-year-old, children. Matt fires up the joint and hands it to me, and I take a hit on that, and it burns my lungs. And I think, oh, God, right? That sucks. And, you know, Tiny's out there, and my family's thrown me away, and I got knots on my head. And, you know, it's like, at this, you know, I was fine 4 days ago. At this rate, I'm going to be dead before I'm 13. I'm smoking the joint, and the wine comes around. I take a pull on the wine. That goes down. I mean, cheap red, no grapes involved red wine. Just burns your stomach, you know, and the vapors. And I'm standing there with these 2 total strangers, and I mean, the magic happened, man. That thing that makes me bodily different from my fellows occurred. And see, all right, we're doing all right so far. A little identification in the front row. I mean, now suddenly I'm comfortable standing where I'm standing, doing what I'm doing with the people I'm doing it with. You know, magic. Now it's like, my family doesn't want me? Screw them. I don't want them either. Tiny? Bring them on. Give it another shot, right? And I don't know what it is. I don't know, is it the pot? Is it the wine? Is it the fact that I'm standing here with my 2 very close personal friends, Matt and Steve, and I'm feeling that connection, and I don't care. I feel better than I've ever felt before. I mean, I went to bed, I got high, I went to bed, I got up, got my little books, went on about my business, no harm, no foul. My experience was, at that moment, feel better than I've ever felt before in my life, watch all my problems disappear, and nothing bad happens. I mean, nobody died that night. Nobody went to jail. Nobody went to the nut house. No blood was drawn. All those things were gonna happen, but that was not my experience at that point. It's like, this works great, I'm in. And I made a decision that I was going to do this as often as I possibly could. And I did it every day for the next 16 years, no matter what. I was given many good reasons to stop along the way, but I'm an alcoholic. Good reasons mean nothing to me. I mean, they don't mean anything, right? I mean, the thing... Problem drinker, you give them a good reason to stop, can do that. It's not my story. Problem drinker gets another drunk driving charge, goes for the judge. The judge says, you know what? I'm sick of you. I see you one more time, you're going to do a year in county. No more conversation. We'll talk after the year. Drunk driver hears that and decides, you know what? I don't want to go to county for a year. Actually makes a conscious decision to not drink and drive, and then can act upon that decision. Doesn't drink and drive. Me, I start wondering what's going to be like in jail, because I'm going. I can't not drink and drive. I got to figure that may become a part of my path. That may become, you know? Anyway, humble beginnings, pot and wine. 13 was pills. Second all, Placidil, Tuinol, got strung out on all that stuff. Only reason I took a pill is a guy said, would you like a couple of these pills? And I said, yes, I would. Took them. 20 minutes later, I'm laying on the floor, and I'm very happy there. I like pills. 14 with psychedelics on a 10-hour pass from this boarding school with a girl named Debbie. Older woman, 15 and a half. And a bad girl. I got a lot of respect for Debbie to this day, man. She was an eye-opener. And Debbie said, would you like to drop some acid? And I said, well, yes, I would, Debbie. Again, having no idea what we're talking about. So I knocked down 3 hits of white lightning. Yeah, next couple of days were pretty interesting. And like 650 hits later, I got classified legally insane by the military. That's another story. 15, started shooting drugs. Only reason I did that is, again, I was in Marina Del Rey on a boat, and a girl named Cammie walked up and said, would you like me to stick this in your body? And I said, of course I would, Cammie. And she did, and it was one of those shots. It was a good shot. It was one of those shots where she hit me, and I just went. And on the way down, I remember thinking, if I'm not dead, I'm doing that again, because that was excellent. 16, I went to my first mental institution, dropped out of high school. My father came back in my life, said, you're nuts, threw me in a nut house. Did a little time there, tried to escape, unsuccessfully. Hard to do on Thorazine. You know, you don't have that burst of speed you're looking for. You It's just ready, go! You hear from the nurse's station, Ed, when you got a minute, you want to grab Earl, he's making a break for the door. Ed's in there having a sandwich going, yeah, I'll get him in a minute, he ain't going nowhere. Trying to get out. Second outhouse, I escaped. 3 years out on the street doing what you do to stay loaded on a daily basis. Ended up in college, long story. Ended up in a business college in Northern California. I'd become a drug dealer, big shock. Being a drug dealer was not a problem. I had no morals, I had no ethics, I had no sense of family, I had no sense of community. I'd been isolated and left with my own best thinking since I was 12 years old. And nobody was really having a particularly profound impact on that. And so I'm going to business college and I'm studying marketing and production and distribution, and I'm applying it to my drug business, and the business is doing very well. I think college is exceptional. I like this. Now I'm living alone. I'm getting loaded like a maniac. I get diagnosed to have malignant cancer, fly back to LA when I'm 20. They do major surgery on my upper back. They prepare me to die. They prepare my family for me to die. I'm looking at them like, you don't even know who you're talking to. I mean, the way I'm getting loaded these days, that's coming up like twice a week. It's like, he's turning blue again, call someone. I was just out of control. And I beat the cancer thing. I'm a long-term cancer survivor. And go back up to school. And my mother calls me and says, look, we haven't been anywhere as a family in 10 years. We got to put this family back together. Come down for your birthday. We'll go somewhere together as a family. And I said, fine. So I flew back to L.A., and on my 22nd birthday, we took off to fly to Guadalajara, and on the way there, the plane crashed. And my mother, my father, my little sister all died in the crash, and I didn't. And I woke up on this in this mud in Mexico, and there was... my mother was laying over there, and my little sister Kimberly was right over there, and my father was over there. And I'd fractured my skull and broken my back in 3 places and had a lot of internal injuries. I was paralyzed from the waist down. Only thing I could move was my right arm. It had metal sticking out of me. And I couldn't do anything to help them. I couldn't get to them to help them. And I just laid there and I watched them all bleed to death in front of me. And I had a little chat with God, and I said, any God that would take somebody like my little sister Kimberly, just this really kind, gentle, poetic person, and leave somebody like me here. I mean, I had no use for a God of this type, and I renounced God. Then some guys came up and they scavenged the plane wreck. And I remember I got my wallet out because I knew I was dying, but I took out my driver's license, and I wanted them to know who I was. That this is my name. And they took my wallet and took the money out of it and threw it back on my chest, and went through and got what they could get and went back down, left the crash site, and left me there to die. So I had no more love for you either. I was out of it. I had no love of man, no love of God. I was out of the game. And then some guys finally came up and they got me, and they put me in the back of a truck with my mother, and they drove us to an aid station. They tagged her dead. They tagged me dead, and they sat there smoking cigarettes waiting for me to die, and I didn't die. Finally, they took me to a hospital in Los Mochis, Mexico. The federales showed up. The federales wanted to know what I was doing back in Mexico. Again, another story we don't need to get into here. But it was 3.5 days of interrogation through an interpreter by them. They wouldn't give me anything for pain. Finally, I called a buddy of mine in Northern California who called the family in Mexico City, who flew in a plane. Paid some folks off. They plastered me from the neck down and smuggled me out of Mexico, and I ended up in a hospital in Santa Monica for a long time. Got out of the hospital and went on my last run. I was completely nuts. I'd been an alcoholic since I had a guy tell me, you're an alcoholic, when I was 16 and a half years old. And I was fine with it. I mean, that's who I was. And when I came out of that hospital, strung out on Demerol, I hit the ground running, man. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that had no anchors. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a guy that drank and used, but tried somehow to keep it in check for the career, or the family, or the wife and kids, or the creative pursuit, or whatever it was. There was nothing anchoring me to the planet, to life. I was just drinking and using like a madman. And I just rolled for 6 years. I detoxed. I was loaded solid for 6 years, except for 3 different times I was strapped to a gurney in a little bootleg sanitarium in Hollywood, where you go and you pay them $150 cash and give them your wallet and your car keys and your bottle of Valium and your gun or whatever you got going on, and they strap you down, shoot you full of anticonvulsants, and let you ride. And you kick like a dog. No tranquilizers, no, are you uncomfortable, honey? We'll give you a little. You just kick. And the last time I did that, I reintroduced myself. I was so sick, so beat up, so tired, so crazy, that I remember reintroducing myself to God, and I just said, you know what, you get me out of this sane and alive, and both seem to be in question. I will never, ever, ever drink again as long as I live, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. And I got up off of that table and I drank for 2 more years because I could not stop drinking. At the end, for me, the drugs were irrelevant. I needed to go with the big dog. I wasn't playing around. I wasn't trying to fit in. I'm a child of the 60s. We were very focused on the drugs. But the fact is, there was always a bottle of gin sitting on the table for me, because drugs, basically, in my opinion, are completely unreliable. There's no quality control going on out there. You know what I mean? You don't know what you got till you get it in your body. You get yourself the 5th of Jack Daniels or a quart of gin, that's reliable. Right? So you do so much cocaine you can't get your mouth open anymore, that the party's just started and you've completely overshot the mark one more time. You suck a little gin through your teeth, it'll loosen you right up and you can go on with the party. Acid a little too spooky, Jack will get you back in the comfort zone. That's reliable stuff, man. And in the end, for me, man, I woke up with every cell in my body screaming at me. There was no time to play around. Let's see if this will work. Let's see if this will work. It's like, get me some alcohol, man. I got to sedate this because I got pictures in my head I can't live with. I can't live with them. There's no way. I knew I was going to drink myself to death. I knew it. I was just trying to make it as simple as possible. In the end, for me, I was 28 years old. I was 215 pounds. I had hair out like this and a beard like this. I was psychotic, and I don't use that term loosely. I could not distinguish between fantasy or reality. I'd think of something, and I didn't know, did I do that? Did I dream that? Did somebody tell me that? Is that a lie I told somebody 2 weeks ago? I don't know what's what, man. I'm crazy. I've broken 74 bones. I got 650 stitches in me. I've been stabbed twice, shot at. I've watched my family die. I got no friends. I got no place to live. Heart swollen, thyroid shut down. I'm a mess. It's like, it would have been nice if I'd have been able to, man. I would have looked at my life. If I'd have had any area going on at all, I would have said, well, it's going pretty well here. But to this day, man, I believe it had to be the way it had to be for me. I had to look around, man, it was just a wasteland. Just a smoldering ash spread across the land, man. There was nothing left. And I threw up 2 busted hands. They were deciding whether or not to charge me with attempted murder. They're throwing me in the back of an ambulance to take me off to get my stomach pumped one more time. And there's a guy named David Luboff shaking his fist at the ambulance, and he said, and I quote, "You don't understand the ramifications of the situation." And I remember thinking, he's right. I don't. This is what I've done the best I can do. That was the best Earl could do. That was my best thinking, to reduce my life to the state of affairs that I found myself in. And I went in the hospital and they pumped my stomach. I'd had it pumped so many times I could talk to you while you did it. It was not a big deal running the tubes. Bad day. And they took me from there to another place for 3 to 5 days, I don't really know, for a detox, and I got worse. And then they took me down to Long Beach for 12 more days of detox and 30 days of rehab on a free bed in this joint. It was a very, very cushy joint. So the detox room was about this size, and there were 21 cots on each side of the room with sheets drawn between them, and you kicked. How you earned your cot was you stayed in it. And if you threw a seizure, they'd give you anti-seizure medication and toss you back up in the cot, It was like Dante's Inferno. Because you don't sleep because, somebody's freaking out 24/7. And I came out of there, and they said, if you don't want it, and this counselor gave me really good advice. He said, you're a hopeless alcoholic. If you don't want to die, you better go to AA, because it's the only chance a guy like you's got. And that's what I needed to hear. If he'd have said, look, we got 3 choices for you, I'd have died. He said, 1 shot for you, go to AA. And I ended up in the basement of a church on a Friday night, scared to death. No tools for living that worked, no idea how to be in the world, no sense of family, no sense of community, no idea who I was. If you asked me, I was so afraid of you when I got here. I was so afraid you would ask me what were, for me, unanswerable questions. Like, how are you? How you doing? What's going on? You going someplace? You know, what do you do? What do you like? How do you feel about this or this or this? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've been loaded since I was 12 years old. I don't know anything. I'm standing here, scared, in a meeting. I don't get it. I don't join stuff. I've got alcoholism in full effect in my head. The obsession of the mind's in full effect. I've just kicked. I have kicked, and the physical phenomenon of craving is gone, but the obsession of the mind's in full swing. I'm still thinking like a criminal. I come in, sit in the back, arms folded, best tough guy look on my face, mad dog and everybody that looked at me. You don't want to come over here. It won't go well. Never does. Because I'm terrified of you. I'm terrified of you. And I can't let you know I'm afraid, so I got to be a crazy person. You know, I'm here to just pick your brains, find out who's got the juice, check where the doors and the windows are. If you look like you got the power over there, I'll come over, burglarize your conversations, get the juice about this A thing, and I'm out of here. That's my best thinking. I sat in the back, and this old timer got up and shared his experience, strength, and hope, and I didn't know that's what he was doing. But what I heard was a guy get up and talk about his feelings. But he did it with this grace and this dignity that I'd never seen before. It just didn't go. I'd never seen it. It didn't go together for me. And he said, I don't care whether you like what I got to say or not. You don't like what I got to say? Go to another meeting. Maybe you'll hear something you can identify with there. And I loved that. Because on some level I understood that he wasn't selling me on this A&A thing. He was sharing it with me. If I wanted, I could have it. This deal was for free. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Of course, I had a look of disdain on my face, like, yeah, right. But I was thinking, oh, you know, I can come here anytime I want. And I've never left. I've been here 22 years. And I couldn't stay sober for a day. Couldn't stay sober for a day. And I've been sober for 22 years. And that's all Alcoholics Anonymous. All of it. The fellowship and the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Simple. Nice and simple. That's what's worked for me. I've always gone to AA meetings. I've always been sponsored. Since I've been 2.5 years sober, I've sponsored other individuals. I've had commitments at meetings. And I've never strayed from you. I've always stayed close and I've always stayed connected. Because I understand that the life I have today is a direct result of that process. For those people who took chips and whatnot, congratulations. I got to tell you, this goes so far past not drinking and using. It is, in fact, a design for living like the big book talks about. And it's amazing to me, and I'm a perfect example of this, how long people can stay in AA and not read the big book. I was that guy, right? I remember me and Christopher, sponsored by the same guy, the late, great Donald Madden. Finest example of sponsor that's ever lived. Ever lived. He didn't tell you about Alcoholics Anonymous, he showed you. And he never, you know, and thank God he never asked my opinion. That man never called me up and said, Earl, we're going to a meeting. Would you like to come with us? Yeah. Earl, we're going to a meeting. Do you feel like going to a meeting with us? He never said that. He called me up and said, oh, hello. We're going to Ohio Street. The meeting starts at 8:30. Be there at 8. Click. Apparently my opinion isn't required here. We'll just go to the meeting. I'd go to a meeting and I'd think it was insane. And we'd leave the meeting and I'd look at him and I'm about to say, that sucked. You know, and we'd walk out and he'd go, "Oh, that was wonderful." And I'd go, "Okay, apparently that was wonderful." And on and on and on. This is how we do this. He showed me, and so many of my brothers that are still sober to this day, he showed us how to stay sober. Went so far beyond the call of duty as a sponsor, is unbelievable. I remember I had a little one-room apartment, $325 a month, and I was having trouble making the rent. And I had my phone. Those days you had the phone and the separate answering machine, you know, and you could set it up so you never heard the phone ring and you never heard the outgoing message. You'd just be in your apartment and you'd hear beep and somebody talking, right? And it's like 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, and I'm laying on this mattress on my floor. Christopher remembers the place, right? Laying on this mattress. I've had like an hour and a half sleep, you know what I mean? Because I couldn't sleep. You know, the idea of being in my apartment, quiet, no way. Walk in, the TV goes on, we're doing this, you know what I mean? Just lots of noise to distract me from the committee in full effect, right? And I got an hour and a half sleep, and all of a sudden I hear, beep, wake up. We're having a day. Click. That was the message. And I remember thinking, oh my God, they have bed checks in AA. These people don't leave you alone, man. It was insane. But what I got was a foundation upon which I can stand a free man. That's what I got. I thought, I don't want to live in AA. I want to live in the world. Well, guess what? I had to come to AA, build a foundation upon which I could walk out into that world and be a productive, active, reasonable member of society. Be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. I had to put the work in here. And what that amounted to was, you know, we got this triangle with a circle, right? Ancient spiritual symbol stands for mind, body, and spirit brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance I've sought my whole life and never had drunk or sober. Either way. Been maniacal in my behavior most of my life. AA adopted that symbol, unity, service, and recovery. Unity's the body, I bring it here. I couldn't get sober, but we seem to be able to. When I stick with you, my odds improve tremendously. But in and of itself, not enough. Got to keep going. The recoveries of the mind, the greater aspect of this disease. I can go kick and come in here and alcoholism in full effect. Beast whispering in my ear all day long. I'm fighting off that beast, that voice that tells me that for me to go have a couple of drinks is a reasonable thing to do considering the pressure I'm under. Right? Being me is not easy. Constant pressure. You know, the beast whispers to me. It waits for me. Early in my sobriety, I wake up in the morning, beast says, we're glad you're up. We've been talking for several hours. We got a few things we want to go over with you. First of all, you're a miserable piece of shit and you're never going to amount to anything. You know, I got to call Donald. You know, just on me, right? The obsession of mind. The book says the persistence of this illusion, this belief in a lie that I can drink like a normal man, is astonishing. Many of us pursue it to the gates of insanity and death. That's where the beast wants me to go. Get in the car, man. Get in the car. Right? Let's go to the gates. And I got to get rid of that because I can't fight that off. You know how you get rid of the obsession of the mind? Work the 12 steps. Step 1, what's the problem? Lack of power. Step 2, solution. A power greater than myself. Can restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, relieve me of the obsession of the mind, man. All that obsessive thinking. Step 3, make a decision to do something about it. Get on my knees and turn my will and my life over to the care of a God I may or may not understand. Irrelevant. Do it. Take the action. So I did it. Got up, immediately embarked upon a plan of action that will bring the solution of step 2 about in my life. Allow it to actually manifest in my life, for me to have an experience of that. 4 and 5 is me, 6 and 7 is God, and 8 and 9 is you. Nobody else to play with. 4 and 5, swallow large chunks of truth about myself, unavoidably so. 6 and 7, ask God to remove the defects of character, because I'll remove the wrong stuff. And 8 and 9, I'm very, very sorry. Here's your money. Back in the house. No big get a load of me. I'm on a spiritual mission here, you know. And I'm sorry I stole your car. I estimate the value of your car at $10,000 at the time of the theft. Here's a check, and if that's acceptable to you, I will make monthly payments in that amount to you till it is paid off. And to make amends means to change, so I will not go steal your car and sell it to pay you for the car I stole from you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
I'm out of that. I don't sell drugs sober. Not what I do. Ever. Holidays included. 10, 11, and 12 keep me in the game, keep the ball rolling. 10 me, 11 God, 12 you. I continue to take personal inventory because I've made a pass at this stuff as I've worked the steps. I've dipped my toe into the pond. I gotta go deeper. There's worlds within worlds. I gotta continue that process because I'm a flawed human being and I'm screwing up left and right. And I gotta take an accounting of that so that I don't end up with this big mess of seething toxicity within me, which at some point I must medicate again. So I keep working on that. 11, I seek God. Seek God. Doesn't say I gotta find God. The end of chapter 5 said that God couldn't what if he were sought. Not God couldn't what if he were found. Sought. It's in the seeking, the action that I take, the chopping wood and the carrying water of Alcoholics Anonymous. If I do that, it will bring about a change. Change will come to me. I must seek God through prayer and meditation. I pray for knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out, and I meditate to quiet the mind, a good idea for me, so that when the answers come, I can hear them. It doesn't come, no longer do I get messages through the radio. I get a feeling, I get an intuition, a sense of what's right and proper action for me to take, independent of what I think I may need or I may want or what I desire to do. I do not always act in concert with that intuition, but it is my desire to move in that direction more and more and more in my life, to continue to move that way. 12's third side of the triangle. Unity is the body, I bring it here. Recoveries of the mind, I work the steps. Having had a spiritual awakening is the result of the steps. That was the whole point. I can practice the principles and carry the message. I can be of service, but I can't give away something I don't have. I have to do the work. Now I can turn away and give away what was so freely given to me by Donald Madden and the people like him in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Those guys that were here to make sure when I came through that door nuts, there was a place for me where I could hear a message of hope and a message of recovery. That's what those guys did for me. I owe them my life. And the last thing, Donald Madden, I mean, I'll give you everything I've got. All I ask is that when you get this thing, you turn around and give it away to the next guy coming in. And I've tried to honor that a long time. Last week was 9 years since Donald passed away. And I still miss him. Every once in a while, Christopher and I talk, and Christopher will say to me, he just needs to come back for one day. Can we just have him for one more day? And man, do I understand that. I mean, he was the original for me, you know. He was the one. He was the bigger-than-life magic man, you know, the one that had a passion for living and a commitment to this process of Alcoholics Anonymous as the central theme in the process of his life. And I wanted what he had, man. I wanted to feel strongly about something again, because I was dead inside. And I remember going to him and asking him to sponsor me, and him saying yes. And I just put my head down and cried like a baby, because I hadn't asked anybody for anything in so long I couldn't even remember. And as I was sitting there sobbing, he looks over my head to his assistant and he says, and I quote, "Oh, wonderful, he's destroyed." And I picked my head up and I thought, I've erred here. He's crazy. And the fact of the matter is, he wasn't crazy at all. What he saw was a man who had been beaten into a state of reasonableness. What he saw was somebody who would not be giving up much of a fight. That I was just this empty shell of a human being, and he'd be able to pour recovery into me, and he'd be able to watch me heal and grow and become an actual human again. I'm more comfortable being Earl than I've ever been. My only New Year's resolution every year is less judgment, more tolerance, because I am a judgmental, intolerant man. Fear puts me in that position regularly. I'm intolerant of myself and of others. I am in judgment of myself and others, and I don't want to live like that anymore. So what I find is that when I feel that judgment or that intolerance pop up, is I feel I need to do, I got to go to work. I got to go to work. I got to try to find a way to either frame that individual up as a sick person, as the book suggests to me, or find out what it is about them that reminds me so much of a part of myself that I'm uncomfortable with. You know, that there's an opportunity there for me, a growth that's available for me, a learning that's available for me. Because I'm 22 years sober, and I am nothing but a student of this game. It's the way it has to be. It's to be a student of this. So, you know, I'm sponsored by a remarkable man. He's like a samurai to me. You meet him, and he's this gentle, kind, loving man. And he just kind of sparkles and smiles, and he's just this beautiful guy. And I want to grow up to be like that, because I have days where I'm not a gentle, kind, loving man. I'm ill-mannered and short-tempered and frightened. And I got to back you off of me because I can't find my legs. You know, he always seems to have his legs. You know, he seems to be comfortable standing where he is at all times. And that's why I seek his counsel and I run things by him. And I defer to him. And if he tells me to do something, I just do it. And I can tell you that I'm pretty sure that I'm willing to do anything he tells me to do. You know, and I'm not going to pull that ham 22 years, you know, come on. So what, man? You know, I'm sober today, and I've seen stronger, tougher, brighter men with more time than me get drunk and die. And I don't want to do that. My ticket's punched. This is not about stopping drinking and using. It's about how do I live life sober. It's about staying stopped. And I have to use the tools that I found in here today to make that possible for me. I can find myself in some pretty ridiculous situations at this point in my sobriety. Yeah. You and I are going to get along fine. It's the way it is. I want to walk the earth a free man. I want to love and be loved. I want to feel strongly about things. I want to have the passion that Donald Madden had for living life. I want to be able to laugh like he laughed, you know, without reservation. Without reservation. I want to have that sense of self that's balanced. You know, I mean, he was just this amazing guy, you know what I mean? And he died 23 years sober, an active participant in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know? And that's all I want. All I want is this life, this moment. What drugs and alcohol did for me was it took me out of right here, right now. As my second sponsor, I would say, get in there, all right? Get in there, just get in there. I avoided that at all costs before I came here, because right here, right now, I'm self-centered and I'm afraid. Right here, right now, my insides measure up to your outsides, and I lose every time. I'm restless, I'm irritable, I'm discontented, so I would drink and use to get out of right here, right now. Alcoholics Anonymous has given that back to me, where I can be comfortable, standing where I'm standing, doing what I'm doing with the people I'm doing it with, here, now. And that's the only place I can live my life. I can't love you any other, except right now. You know, I can't have any honor or dignity as a man except for right now. I had it completely backwards. I thought when I came here, if I loved you, you would love me. And that is not my experience. I thought if I was honest with you, you would be honest with me. Again, not my experience. If I was respectful of you, that you would be respectful towards me. Not my experience. I sold myself so short because you know what? The reward is so much greater than that. The gift is so much greater than that. If I'm honest with you, what I become is an honest man. If I'm respectful of you, I become a respectful man. If I'm loving towards you, I become a loving man. And that's a much greater gift. I have nothing to say about what goes on over there, but I can have some impact on what I bring to the game. What I bring to the game. I mean, I grow up, people say, what do you want in a woman? Well, I want these 32 things. Anything else is unacceptable. What are you bringing? These 3. You know? Just completely out of whack, man. Always just so controlling, manipulating what's going on out there, right? Instead, now it's like, what do I bring to the game? What do I bring to the game? Who am I going to be? How do I represent? That's what I can do something about. I believe in Alcoholics Anonymous, so I got two choices. The fork in the road they talk about in the book. Loosely translated, that I can accept the life based on spiritual principles, or I can attempt to blot out the intolerable nature of my existence as I struggle along towards an open grave, you know what I mean? And I know as alcoholics we think, you know, yeah, it's kind of, what kind of alcoholic death are we talking here? No, man. I know where I gotta go. I can either die in a gutter or I can lead an exceptional life. Can't live in the gray areas like the normal man can. Can't handle anger, dubious luxury of the normal man. Can't handle seething resentment within me at all times. Can't live like that. Gotta try to find the higher road. And what's great about this is, if you're new, you look around in here, there's a lot of people in this room that I know got the spark in their eye. They got the buzz, man. They have caught the buzz. And you go hang with them and you do what they did, you will catch the buzz. If you just follow them around, you'll just know where they're going every day. That's all you're gonna get. If you do what they do, you'll get the buzz. For you, you're in your life in terms of you. That's the beautiful thing about it. You do what I do, you won't get my life, you'll get yours. And that's a beautiful thing. So if you're new, congratulations. A lot of respect for you. 30 chip people, amazing, man. That's such an amazing thing that any of us get 30 days. You know, and if you got 30 days, you've proven 30 times you can get to bed sober. And that's all we're doing, right? Everybody just get to bed sober tonight. Thanks.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.